Welcome back. You're here at Murder with Mike on Mike and Juju Smoker Room, the channel that dives into the darkest, most twisted chapters of human history. Today we'll be talking about a case that still sends chills down the spines of those who lived through it. A man who committed one of the most heinous crimes in Arkansas history. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about Ronald Gene Simmons, the man behind the infamous 1987 massacre that left a town in shock and a family destroyed. Alright, picture this. It's the holiday season, a time for cheer, family gatherings, but for the Simmons clan, it would become a week of unspeakable horror. Ronald Gene Simmons Sr., born on July 15, 1940, was a man with a disturbing secret. One that would lead him down a path of unimaginable violence. A military man through and through, Simmons served in both the Navy and the Air Force, earning several honors, including a Bronze Star and the Republic Vietnam Gallantry Cross. But beneath the surface of the seemingly decorated serviceman lurked a monster waiting to be unleashed. Well, the horror began on a cold winter morning, December 22nd, 1987. Simmons, with a sinister plan in mind, decided to eliminate his entire family. He started with his son, Ronald Gene Simmons Jr., and his wife, Becky, bludgeoning them with a crowbar and finishing them off with a .22 caliber pistol. But he did not stop there. His 3-year-old granddaughter, of all people, Barbara, was strangled to death. He callously tossed their bodies into a cesspit he had forced his own children to dig. What a monster. This was only the beginning of his sickening rampage. So as the days grew closer to Christmas, Simmons waited for his other children to return home from school for the holidays. He had a twisted idea of what their Christmas presents would be. When they arrived, he told them each he had gifts for them. But instead, the cowards one by one. Loretta, 17, was strangled and held underwater in a rain barrel. Eddie, 14, Marion, 11, and Becky, 8, all suffered the same fate. He then laid their bodies in neat rows in the living room, a morbid display of his depravity. But there still did not end there. On December 26th, the rest of the family gathered for what they thought would be a joyous reunion. But instead they walked into a house of horrors. Billy and his wife Renata and their 20-month-old son Trey were all Sheila, his oldest daughter, and her husband Dennis McNulty were killed in a rage fueled by his incestuous obsession and fear of being exposed. The couple's 7-year-old daughter, Sylvia Gale, and 21-month-old son, Michael, were. Now, the only survivor of this massacre was his 5-year-old granddaughter, who thankfully was hiding under a bed, the sole witness to this carnage. But Ronald Gene Simmons was not done yet. He then took his rage to Russellville, Arkansas, where he embarked on a murderous spree, unaliving Secretary Kathy Kendrick and James David Chapin, a complete stranger, and injuring 4 others. Simmons' final act of terror was at the Woodline Motor Freight Company, where he used to work, where he shot his former supervisor. Only then did he stop and call the cops and wait for them to arrive, weapons still in hand. The manhunt for Simmons was swift, and his capture was almost anticlimactic. He was tried and found guilty, receiving the death penalty for both his monstrous crimes. But here is where the story takes a bizarre twist. Simmons refused to appeal his sentence, insisting that anything less than death would be cruel and unusual punishment for what he had done. So his execution was the subject of the 1990 U.S. Supreme Court case, Whitmore v. Arkansas, which debated the rights of death row inmates to refuse further appeals. So on May 31st, 1990, Bill Clinton, then the governor of Arkansas, signed Simmons' execution warrant. And on June 25, 1990, he met his end by lethal injection, becoming the first person to die by this method in the state of Arkansas. Simmons' body was claimed by no one. He was buried in a potter's field, and it was a sad and lonely end for a man who had brought so much pain to others. The case of Ronald Gene Simmons is a grim reminder that evil can lurk in the most unexpected places. The man who was once a father, husband, and grandfather became a mass murderer, leaving a legacy of blood and tears. So as we sit here today, let's not forget the lives lost and the horrors they faced. And let's always remember that justice, though sometimes harsh, was served for the people of Polk County, Arkansas. Hey, thank you for joining us on this episode of Murder with Mike. Hey, if you guys enjoyed the content, do not forget to hit that like button. And if you haven't subbed up yet, what are you waiting for? And always remember, guys, to go hide crayons in the notification bell's dryer the next time you're visiting their house. That way you always know when we put out content. Alright guys, we'll see you on the next episode, where we'll be exploring the dark corners of the human psyche. So until then, stay safe, and like Motel 6, keep the lights on, y'all.